You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Ian. Johnson.
From the Kari Feinstein Emmy Style Lounge at the world-famous Mondrian Hotel on Sunset Blvd and streaming live on Ustream, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Boardwalk Empire edition. We'll break down the first season and get you all the latest news and gossip, including the show's Emmy nominations. And now, picking up where the show leaves off and the buzz continues, it's AFTERBUZZ TV's Boardwalk Empire edition.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV. I'm sitting here with Bethany, Tam, and Michelle, and we're here to talk about Boardwalk Empire. We are live from the gifting suites for the Emmy TV Awards that are on this weekend. AFTERBUZZ is here for the next 2 days, broadcasting to you live from this amazing room in the Mondrian Hotel on Sunset Blvd in Hollywood, where lots of people involved in the Emmy Awards come past and get to interact and check out some cool products and whatever. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Season 1 Boardwalk Empire, nominated for 18 Emmy Awards, already won 7 at the Creatives last week, and Season 2 kicking off on a very special day, September the 25th, which also happens to be my birthday.
Oh, that is a special day.
So all of you are watching us out there on Ustream or listening to us on iTunes, mark that in your calendars. Feel free to find me on Facebook and wish me happy birthday.
Right. Or email info@AfterBuzzTV and send them something.
Yeah, that's right.
A little happy birthday note.
Anyway, so look, we're going to do a bit of a recap on Season 1. We're going to talk about what really turned us on and if there was anything that turned us off, though I doubt there was all that much. We're going to talk about the Emmys, and we're going to do our standard news and gossip. And as we move forward, it's very possible that at any time a celebrity might be hailed down by John or Phil or Kev, and we will interview them. So if that happens, you're just going to go with us, and we'll be flying by the seat of our pants, but hey, that's what we do best here.
That's right.
So for those of you that don't remember or have a short-term memory, you may remember Season 1 of Boardwalk Empire is all about Nucky Thompson. It's played by Steve Buscemi, nominated for Best Actor. And he's a county treasurer of Atlantic City right at the beginning of Prohibition. He's already a corrupt man, but this provides the ultimate opportunity for corrupt business. And basically, the season pans out from there. He has a young protege, Jimmy Darmody, just back from the World War, who gets involved in the business himself. He creates a widow in Margaret Schroeder, who he takes on and off as a lover. He has Agent Van Alden, played by my favorite of the series, Michael Shannon. Who's after him. He develops relationships with the gangsters of New York, Rothstein, Lucky Luciano, Al Capone, John Torrio, and then he has his brother Eli, who he manages to piss off time and time again, and his mentor, the Commodore, who we find by the end of the season are conspiring with Jimmy to uproot him. There's a very quick kind
Paul, so sorry to interrupt, but we have Boo Boo Stewart here from Twilight. Here we go.
My favorite
We'll definitely get back to that.
We have a Twilight actor? This is the real deal. Just gonna have a seat.
Interruption.
My name's Paul.
I feel like we need sound effects
What's your name?
for that.
Boo Boo. Boo Boo.
Nice
How's
to
it going?
meet you.
These are the girls. Bethany, Tam, Michelle.
Hey.
Welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV.
Oh, thank you.
So, Twilight. Pretty small deal.
Yeah.
Now,
I've
can you
never heard
tell
of
us,
it.
for those of our viewers or listeners who might not know Twilight back to front, who do you play in the films?
I play a character named Seth Clearwater. He's kind of like the peacemaker of the shapeshifters and the vampires, because he's the only character in the movies that wants everyone to get along. So.
Right.
Just wants everybody to get along.
Yeah,
I love that about you.
You look so sweet. I'm sure you pull it off very well. So you're one of the wolves?
Yes.
One of the wolf pack?
Yes, Paul, he is one of the wolf packs. I'm sorry, I'm a dedicated Twilight fan, so I can help out a little bit here. Are you, now, at what point in your journey do you become a werewolf? Because I know that a lot of them morph early on, but it's kind of coming into manhood. Does it happen for you later?
For Seth, the character, it happens faster than, it actually happened faster than a lot of the others because of what happened to his grandfather, and his dad. So yeah, it happens a little faster for him, and they don't really tackle that in the movies.
No.
You know, but you get to see. I think it's cool seeing myself as a wolf. Like,
it's amazing.
So, do you wear a shirt in the movie?
Ever?
Ever? Which I'm not complaining about, but I just am wondering.
I guess you'll have to see the movie.
I guess you will now. I just saw, I don't know about you girls, but they just released the Breaking Dawn Part 1 trailer.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they did, like literally just a couple of days ago.
I'll have to watch it.
You'll have to watch it. It looks like there are a lot of the wolves are, Bella's pregnant, and there's a lot of, it looks like there's going to be some warfare, tribal warfare, for want of a better word. What about the Emmys? Are you going to the Emmys?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be going to the Emmys. So yeah, I'm not sure. Are you guys going to be at the Emmys?
Are we going to be at the Emmys? I'd love to be at the Emmys. No, we're going to be here, though.
You might have to crash and go through the back door.
Yeah, I'm gonna be cuddled up on my couch with a big bowl of popcorn.
That's right.
And
front row seats.
Yeah, that's the best.
Front row seats with the white flat screen.
I'm terribly curious. Do you have an animal that you actually identify with, separate from your character?
Like an animal that I have?
Yeah, like, or did this part come along and you're like, oh my god, I'm a wolf. Hello.
You know, the funny thing is, we actually used to have pet wolves.
No.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Where was that?
We used to have pet wolves.
Your family?
Yeah.
Where did you live?
In the valley.
In the valley? Oh, that is hilarious.
But you had pet wolves.
Yeah, we did. And I was kind of like the one wolf, actually. I had this blanket I called my bungie for some reason. And I would sit on the blanket, and if anyone tried to touch me, the wolf would growl at them, so...
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of weird that I got this part.
Well, it sounds like it was meant to be.
Did you tell casting when you went in? Did you tell that story? Like, by the way, I also have some pet wolves.
I think I told them I used to have wolves.
Okay.
But I didn't go into the story.
Did they? And how did it? Did you just rock up an audition and you just nailed it? Is that how it happened?
Well, like, I wasn't even supposed to audition for the part.
Right.
I didn't have an audition for it. Luckily, my agent got me in on the callbacks. I was like the last to be seen, and I went in once, and
that was it.
Like,
congratulations.
Awesome.
Really kind of a life-changing undertaking, right?
But you look like a peacemaker. Like, I buy it. I believe that when the vampires and the wolves are fighting, that you'd be like, guys, stop. Really, let's try to get along.
Yeah, you can't have that face.
Look at this footage. It's so sweet.
Be an enemy.
Now, we're talking about Boardwalk Empire today. Have you ever seen that?
Gosh, I love that.
You love Boardwalk Empire?
Well, I love like gangster.
Right.
Like, I love that whole entire style of movies. It's my favorite thing. Horror films and gangster films.
What's your favorite horror film?
Friday the 13th.
Really?
Did you see the remake?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I did. I liked it.
Was it, but not as good as the original, or?
Well, it's a remake. It shouldn't be the same. I mean, it should be the same, but I like because you're throwing it out to a different type of audience. Like they remade Nightmare on Elm Street, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah,
but
I love that
the people my age that are gonna go see the movie want to see something scarier and not so as funny as the originals were.
Right.
So it's all about like playing to the audience that you have now.
Yeah.
So like of course people that grew up with an original series seeing this new one, they're gonna be like, what is this? But people my age are like, oh my god, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love remakes.
Well, so it must be, being a big horror film fan, it must be just a dream come true for you to be in the Twilight movies.
It's cool to play a werewolf. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Awesome. All right, well, it's been really great to talk to you. I am Australian. Yes, well done. Thank you. I get New Zealand and British far more than I get Australian, so it's a very fun.
New Zealand and American and Canadian. Those are the two accents that are like really similar.
Yeah, for sure.
American Canadian.
Well, of course,
accent.
Xavier Samuel, who's in Twilight, is Australian. He's a Sydney boy.
Yep, he's
and
really cool dude.
He's just going from strength to strength with his career. I mean,
really nice guy.
Really, and pretty talented, and not bad looking at all either. This is Xavier Samuel, the Aussie guy's in Twilight.
Very nice.
I'm not gonna complain.
He plays one of the bad vampires.
Actually, I helped kill him in the movie.
me.
Do you really?
Unfortunately, because he was a really nice guy.
We're not going to hold it against you.
No, we're not going to hold it against you at all. All right, young man. Awesome. It's been very nice to meet you. Thank you for talking to us at AfterBuzz TV.
Thank you for coming on.
If you wouldn't mind, before you go, have a word into there and say, I'm Boo Boo, and you're listening to AfterBuzz TV.
Right into the camera?
Yeah, go on, say right into there.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Boo Boo Stewart, and you're listening to AfterBuzz TV.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Have a great day, and enjoy the gifting suites. Well,
that's exciting.
I don't know where we can go from there, frankly. Once you have a Twilight star at the table.
We hit our peak in the first 5 minutes.
I'm happy. Between Twilight, Game of Thrones, and Boardwalk Empire, like, that's it for me.
You've done it. You've hit it all.
Yep.
For someone who's such a massive fan of two of the nominated dramas, which, what would be your choice if you had to choose between the two, and do either of them have a chance against Mad Men?
Oh God, they're just so different from each other. It's
but
so
if you
hard.
had to choose,
Okay.
yeah, if you had to choose between the two, because I know Bethany's a massive fan, you are too, right?
I'm Breaking Bad.
I just, sadly, I think that Boardwalk is going to win out over Game of Thrones, and not because it's any better or any worse. I just think it has a little more star power behind it. And I'm sorry, that's
fantasy. I feel like fantasy, an element of fantasy, is always going to have a more difficult run at winning that kind of a drama award.
Yeah.
In anything like Academies, Emmys, whatever. But will it beat Mad Men? I mean, we've already cut to the chase here.
Yeah, I actually have the odds makers.
Let's do that whilst we're
this,
talking
right?
about it. Let's do it.
So for drama series, the odds makers are saying that it's an 80% chance that Mad Men is going to win the drama series Emmy.
Wow.
80%.
Second behind that is Boardwalk Empire with 20%, and everybody else is below 1%.
Yeah.
So. Really, Game of Thrones comes in fourth with the averages. Friday Night Lights, which I was a big giant fan of,
yes,
comes in
love
last. Friday Night Lights. So really, it's probably going to be Mad Men based on what everybody's saying.
I feel like if anything has a chance of Mad Men, it's Boardwalk.
Yeah.
But it's got its work cut out for it.
Yes, indeed.
I didn't love this season of Mad Men. I'm sorry. I mean, I love Mad Men. Don't get me wrong, but I just think, Boardwalk's budget is just so over the top, blow everything out of the water.
$65 million, right?
Really?
For the season?
Yes.
$65 million.
It just kills Mad Men. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Well, and how exciting must that be for all these people who are working within, production design and wardrobe and casting and everything, and to have that kind of budget and just the freedom that brings. I think that's really.
And Boardwalk won most of those awards at the Creative Emmys.
Right.
It was nominated for 11.
Yeah.
It won 7.
Yeah.
And I was going to talk about it later, but we're talking about it now, so let's talk about it.
Does anyone know about the set? Because I was wondering.
About what?
The set. Did they obviously create the entire set on their own?
What, for Boardwalk?
Yeah.
I'm sure they did.
Absolutely. They built that whole boardwalk was rebuilt. They brought in sand.
Amazing.
There's this you can find it on YouTube. There's a really amazing time capture. What do they call it? Is it time capture? Slow? Where they have a little camera.
Stop motion.
Stop motion. Whatever.
Stop motion or time lapse.
Time lapse camera. As they built that boardwalk and brought in the sand, and it's this huge lot. It's a huge lot. That pilot was 18 million of the 65 million.
Whoa, that'd be a nice
Did I exaggerate that? Was it 10?
I have no idea the actual.
Either way, it's a lot.
Massive amount.
It was a huge percentage of the 65.
Do they do it? Is it on the ocean or is it in a lot and they've CG'd in the ocean?
I think it's in a lot, and all of the seas, all of the ocean, and beyond the facade is CG. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you sometimes you can see it if you look really hard, but I felt like as the series went on, that got better and higher quality.
Yeah, I did
feel
notice
the
that.
same way.
That or we were just so used to it that our believability factor just kind of went up.
Yeah,
It's one or the other.
You've been sold it.
Oh, also, I wanted to make a shout out to my friend Anna Stone, who was in this season, who was a suffragette.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so
That's
go
great.
Anna.
What was she?
Fantastic.
She was a suffragette.
Oh, amazing.
That's brilliant.
So they did win the Outstanding Art Direction Emmy during the Creative Emmys. So
No
you know,
surprise.
again, with that kind of budget and the ability, the creativity that allows, I'm not surprised by that. So that's great to see.
Yeah.
Do we think that Buscemi, whilst we're talking Emmys, that Buscemi will beat Hamm, John Hamm, for Best Actor?
I don't know. I'll tell you again what the odds makers
Let's
say.
see the odds.
The odds makers say just exactly like the series, that John Hamm is an 80% chance of winning, Steve Buscemi 20%.
I want Steve Buscemi.
What's so fascinating about it this year, and we'll probably talk about this later this afternoon when we do our Breaking Bad show, so tune into that if you're into that show, is that it's the first time in 4 years that Cranston's not in the race.
Right.
Because Breaking Bad came out too late this year to qualify. And so John Hamm, who has been, you know, really superb and always up there, never had a chance because Cranston's just so astonishing in that show.
Absolutely.
And certainly, I think would have probably so far going on season 4 probably would have taken it out because he just seems to get stronger in every episode.
Yeah.
Having said that, the last season of Mad Men, Hamm really got to pull out some stops, though the season maybe wasn't as strong. He had some moments where he was able to show more than he does usually as Don Draper. And certainly the episode that he nominated himself for is that episode where he breaks down. It's him and Peggy. They're out and he's drunk and he reminisces about his past, and is one of only the 2 times I think that we see him crack.
What do you have to say? I see it on your face. Talk.
I have a question. I mean, I feel like he is Don Draper. And whereas with Steve Buscemi, you know, he puts on so many different character jackets. Would you...
So it's not so much of a stretch for him?
I'll tell you, have you seen...
I'm asking, what do you think?
Have you seen John Hamm on 30 Rock play the goofball? That is more John Hamm than Don Draper. It's like Cranston. Like Bryan Cranston is far more like Malcolm in the Middle than he is Walter White. Far more when you see him interviewed, and John Hamm is the same. He's like a klutz.
Okay.
So it is an acting feat. However, I think what you're getting at is perhaps the range that is demonstrated through a season. And the jump that Steve Buscemi makes from low status that we've seen him like forever into high status. All right. Come and take a seat. We're being joined by a very special guest.
Hello.
And our guest is...
Hi, Rhiannon from Wonka.
Oh,
Rhiannon from Wonka.
Awesome.
Welcome to AfterBuzz TV.
Hi.
What are you here to share with us?
So much stuff.
So something tells me it tastes good.
It does. We have a very large candy buffet. All the different Wonka candies, Laffy Taffy, Sweet Tarts, Nerd Ropes, Kazoozles, Gobstoppers, Scream.
What are Nerd Ropes? That's got me interested.
Here's one here. Try it. They're quite amazing.
This is we're gonna do this live, ladies and gentlemen. This is the real deal.
What?
I'm gonna try Nerd Rope.
You better not eat all of that.
I'm not really a candy guy, which you can tell by the way that
Sour Nerds.
It looks amazing.
Very Wonka-esque.
Oh, Nerds! Oh, I know Nerds. Yes.
Hey, Brianna, do you want to show everyone your...
I'm sorry?
Do you want to show everyone your...
Are you not gonna
Look at that.
Laffy Taffy.
You gotta look at that sign. Oh, and Sweet Tarts, too.
Sweet Tarts.
What I'd like to know is what's the relationship between Wonka and Willy Wonka? Is there one? As in like the Roald Dahl?
There is. Wonka has...
Nerd Ropes are delicious, by the way.
They're
That's
amazing.
delicious.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just got a massive blood sugar spike, so if I start talking fast, bear with me. I want more. Sorry, go on.
You don't have to like put it on your hand and then like...
Wonka's all about whimsical, and so that's why Nerds and Laffy Taffy are perfect for the brand. We also have chocolate as well. All of it's just imaginative candy.
And so in terms of the history, what came first? Did Roald Dahl write Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory, and then that became after that they made candy in that name? Is that how it went?
Yes.
Yes. She's also a candyologist.
You learn something every day, kids.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for the candy.
Get some more candy.
We will.
Sorry, pardon me.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm gonna keep eating.
That is sweet.
Bursts of flavor.
I wanted to say, while I have all this in my mouth, did anybody find Steve Buscemi really, really attractive as the series went on?
Michelle, this is interesting
I thought
news.
everybody would say yes. Might be.
Well,
Tell
here's
us
the
your
thing.
experience.
He takes on the high status in a way that I've never seen him do it in his career. I mean, he hasn't had that many opportunities because he's so
the
good
lead.
at playing the quirky weirdo with low status.
Second or third, you know.
And never
Power,
the lead man.
power is sexy.
Well, what I really like about him,
That's exactly it.
Well,
That's exactly it.
I think what I really like about him is when he's not in that high status. Is when he's talking to Mrs. Schroeder, and you could tell that he likes
And being
her
sweet
more.
to her, right?
Yeah, I like the not so power, but I like the equals thing.
I have a theory that men fall into two categories.
Oh, here we go.
Which is,
Here we go.
they're either the hero or they're the reluctant hero.
Yeah.
And for me, Jimmy is the hero in this tale.
Right.
And Steve Buscemi just refuses to accept who he is and what he does, and he just feels like a reluctant hero to me.
Is that like
Speaking
an
of reluctant
underdog,
heroes,
or-
look what the cat dragged in.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi, I'm Josh Schlesinger.
So?
I'm a dermatologist, a board-certified dermatologist. This is my son, Daniel.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey,
How are you?
Daniel.
What are we here to talk about?
Well, I have to say we're both huge fans of Boardwalk Empire.
fantastic.
You've come to the right table.
You know, it's kind of funny because that was the one thing when they asked me before I came here who I wanted to see. I was like, love to meet Steve Buscemi. I would love to meet any of the stars of Boardwalk Empire. They are it's such a great show.
Isn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah, and we were just
really
talking
is.
about our hopes for it in terms of awards on the weekend.
I can't imagine that they won't win something. I mean, it is such a great show, and it's great because it has a historical interest too.
Yeah.
So anyway, my son and I, Daniel and I, invented these bombs here, and so basically these bombs are skincare that has hydrocortisone in it. And the neat thing about it is that it has the ability to take a skincare product and you can apply it to your skin, and it fixes skincare issues like eczema, psoriasis, like seborrheic dermatitis on your face, and it smells good. It also has an unfragranced one, and it has a lip balm that is excellent for people that have issues like if they're taking medications for acne that are like Accutane, it can help with your lips, or if you just have simple dry lips like happen out here in LA, it's great for that.
What is hydrocortisone?
Hydrocortisone is a corticosteroid, so it's over-the-counter product, but it is something that actually works. It like supercharges it, so it works really, really well to moisten the skin. And so Daniel's idea, Daniel's actually a freshman at Northwestern undergrad.
Oh,
Daniel is in seventh grade.
Chicago?
That's what I know.
You're what?
He said he's a high flyer.
Oh, yeah.
Go Cats? Yeah. All right.
Oh, yes. And so basically Daniel said, I have this lip balm, but can we make something that would go for the cracks on the fingers? And so for the last 5 years, we experimented 54 different formulations until we found the right one. And the right one was amazing because it works on the lips, it works on the face, it works on the body. And so we have the 3 different formulations, the sizes. So it has the pot, we have the stick, and we have the lip balm, and it works great for skin concerns.
Now, how do we get this if we're not here in the gifting suite today?
Well, it will be available in November of this year on my website, lovelyskin.com, or you can go to fixmyskin.com and pick it up.
Fix My Skin.
Yep.
I have a question. Who did you test the product on?
Who did you test the product
Daniel?
on?
Oh, we've tested on my patients actually, and Daniel actually was one of our testers, as was I. So basically, we went through all these formulations to make sure that we had the right formulation for the skin, and it works really nicely because it goes on and it doesn't feel gloppy.
It doesn't. I put some on my hand. I can feel like this part of my hand is beautifully moisturized and the rest is like really dry and cracky. But it doesn't feel like sticky or slimy or anything, which drives me crazy. So.
Well,
There you go, from the horse's mouth, guys. You did something
That's
right.
the thing that people want.
I know.
The other thing is we
Just
also have
don't
our
give
Lovely
it
Skin
back.
Cleanser here and Lovely Skin product lines, which are on our website. But really, the important thing is if you have skincare concerns, you want to get a product that is actually vetted by a dermatologist, me, and make sure that it's the real thing and it works really well. Go to lovelyskin.com, and we'd love to help you out.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well done.
Nice to
Thank
meet
you so
guys.
much.
Do we get to
Thank
keep these?
you.
Oh, absolutely.
I need some
I
for
am
my
going to
skin,
pocket
for
that, baby.
sure.
Are they gonna?
Free or unflaked?
All right.
Somebody gets to get one of these things too. So.
Fantastic, great.
One of the ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. We'll look at reviews later.
Well, everyone gets a prize.
Yay!
We're getting candy.
I feel like I see a True Blood star out over there, and I could be wrong. And maybe I'm wrong. But
True
anybody
Blood.
see?
That just finished. The season just finished.
I know.
Did you enjoy it?
I didn't catch all of it. I was busy getting married, but
She just got married, ladies and gents. Bethany Jaber is off the market, boys. It's good news. Anyway.
500 people just turned this off. 500 people just closed their computers.
Let's get back to Boardwalk with the time that we've got left.
Yes, definitely.
Now, of course, and let's wrap up the Emmy talk by saying Scorsese probably a shoo-in for Best Director.
Right.
The question is he winning it just because of his name?
That's a great question.
I'll be honest, I love the pilot episode. I thought it was some of the best work that I have seen him do in the last couple of years. He's a great director.
So why not?
Everybody in town loves him, and it's so hard to get a pilot episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Or maybe
That's
not right,
so true.
but to entice us
Because
in a
there's
pilot.
so much ground you have to cover. There's so many characters you have to introduce. You have to introduce the world and still be compelling enough for people to come on and
And I think that's the key to why the pilot was successful. Is the introduction of the world was so important, and there was a level of bombast and expanse and style and sweeping camera moves and that Scorsese does so well because he's very theatrical in his approach to his directing. And that sort of introduced that world so well. I mean, personally, it's like Van Patten's and Terrence Winter's more still, dark direction that I enjoyed the most during the season.
You love those dark characters, Paul. You just eat them up.
I do.
I love them too.
But, you know, Scorsese did that job so well. So he'll probably win.
I think he will.
Plus, his experience helps that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I don't think it's just because of his name.
No, he did a great
I
job.
think that does give weight to it, of course, because, you know, people who might be sitting under a rock somewhere and haven't seen the shows, or maybe, you know, only cursory looks at them, look at the ballot and go, oh yeah, I know him.
Yeah, it's also when you look at the ballot and there's Scorsese's name on it next to a bunch of other directors who may be very well known in the TV world in terms of their directing skill, and they're there for a reason, but you may not know them just being a member of the Academy of TV and Whatsies.
Exactly.
You go for Scorsese.
And you might be afraid not to.
You might be afraid not to because maybe the Academy police are watching and monitoring the ballots.
It could be.
Anyway,
Definitely.
this is how I want to start the rest of our conversation about this season. What I found so interesting by going back over this season this week was perhaps this idea how one act of a man, one sin, one crime can come back to haunt you later on. This act that Buscemi did when he took 13-year-old Gillian to the Commodore, walked her into basically what was an act of rape and pedophilia.
Right.
He took her, as she says to Jimmy, he took me to her. And that guilt that has propelled him into bringing up Jimmy. And then Jimmy finding that out and turning against him. And really the way, when you look back over the season, you see that one act that Jimmy took, that crime with Al Capone, killing those guys and then turning Rothstein, all the other gangsters against Nucky. And beginning this spiral down, like as amongst all sorts of other things, but how that act of taking that girl to that man that created that child, and that child then coming back to be the guy that when you're at your height of power does one thing that you could arguably say was the inciting incident in this first season to begin his downward spiral, turn Rothstein and all those other boys against him.
I love that writing. It's
like that, is that, am I reading too much into this?
No, I don't think you are at all. But one of the things I think that's fascinating about it is a lot of this we don't know until, you know, much later in the season.
That's right.
So that's what's brilliant about it, is all of these layers and layers and layers that have been laid in through all the episodes that we're going to, and then we don't, you know, when do we meet Jimmy's mom?
Julian.
when
late
do
in the
we
first
hear?
episode or in the second
Yeah,
episode.
when she goes and jumps on him, and we're like, he's cheating on his
confusion there, and
wife.
there's so many layers going on here, and that's what I think the brilliance is of shows like this and this show in particular.
The slow burn.
Yeah.
The slow burn. And what does Jimmy say? There are those two. If you've seen, there was this great recap that I certainly pilfered from this week on HBO, an 18-minute interview with Terrence Winter, which was absolutely terrific. And there are a couple of important quotes from characters.
I might want to know. I'm fascinated.
When Jimmy says really early on, and when you look back at him, he's got his little cap on and he looks so much younger than he does by the end, where he's more grown up and violent.
Yeah. But
and
Paul,
he says to Nucky, you can't be half a gangster.
And that's what I was talking about the reluctant hero before we had our other segment. He is a reluctant hero. You cannot be half a gangster. And
if
Nucky
being
just
a gangster,
won't own up to it.
Hero
they're anti-heroes though, aren't they? They're all kind of anti-heroes.
Villains,
This is what I was thinking. I was thinking about this today, this whole thing with the 13-year-old girl and how awful these people are, and yet I root for them.
Right.
I like them. Somehow the series creates empathy.
I know.
The others go.
I would even put your favorite character,
Van Alden
as a hero, because there's nothing reluctant about him. He is totally self-assured in his mission and what he needs to accomplish.
Although he sometimes executes it in a sociopathic way.
I'm not exactly sure I agree with your definition of hero, but I would say, conflicted. He's incredibly conflicted.
Hero of
obviously.
this story?
Yeah. Of hero in regarding their own personal narrative.
Okay, then yes. Okay.
And so a man regarding his own personal narrative is either a reluctant hero or a hero. And Van Alden is certainly a hero.
Yeah,
whereas
like in kind of Joseph Campbell mythic journey senses.
And also, I'm just going to say that being the villains, we see throughout in their personal time how there's little bits of good that you could say are good.
That's right.
Like the little bits of kindness, and so you see it, you want them to be, they could be a good person, and then they go and shoot everyone in a room.
They're always really particular about layering in those moments for every character, right? Just the other quote was from Buscemi back to Jimmy. We have to decide what sins we can live with.
Well, and that's actually what I was going to talk about when you were just leading into it, because they're humans, so they have to deal with the humanity. They have relationships with people, and it's always this fine line between I have to take care of my wife or I have to take care of my family, but I'm going to kill another guy's family, or I'm going to kill the provider for another family. And so it's this constantly shifting set of morals and values for these people.
And Margaret Schroeder's journey is very interesting on that level, coming from a strict Irish Catholic upbringing, where she finds herself compromising her integrity for her family.
Yes.
It's really interesting. I was fortunate enough to audition to play her brother in the second season.
Oh, wow.
Which was awesome. I sadly didn't get it. And I don't think I probably can go into anything that I read for whatever copyright reasons, but just wouldn't want to risk it. I don't know. But we do get to meet some of where she's from.
That's really interesting.
And it's really interesting. It's really fascinating to see that. So that'll be coming in season 2. There's an AfterBuzz exclusive.
Exclusive. Every character has a backstory that makes them, like Tamara and I watch Intervention, and with everyone, or some people were like, I get why they're doing this.
Addicted. Yeah.
Created by
I
a past. And actually, Tam, we're going on to Breaking Bad later this afternoon. When you think of the two series, these two series next to each other, there's an element of Breaking Bad in.
I was actually thinking that as I was watching
exactly
going back over the episodes this morning.
Yeah.
There's because again, with that speaking of what are the sins we can live with. The compromises that each of these characters make, the heroic reasons for which they make these choices, there's definitely a comparison.
And what's so great about these descents into or down, let's not say into what, but from here to here, is a compromise you can justify to yourself. You can rationalize. Then you're here. So then, when the opportunity arises to go to here, it's still not that very big. That's not a very big step. You can just rationalize that to yourself. And these keep happening. And then all of a sudden you look back and this is how far you've gone.
Yeah.
And that's what these shows really do so well. And that's part of those slow reveal and the onion layers peeling back. And what other metaphors can we think of?
I feel like we need to get like an ethics professor in here to like
I'd love to
to talk about.
You want to know
morals and
something?
ethics.
Because
That would be fun.
because I graduated, I cheated on like every ethics test, and I was like, "This is ironic." Every single
You do your
one.
degree in ethics?
No,
Oh,
God,
okay.
no. It was a. By
That
the way,
showed
ethics
them.
teacher. I didn't do that. I'm lying.
What about you girls? What were your favorite? Did you have a favorite moment, a favorite character, turning point, or storyline that defined the season for you?
My favorite episode, and forgive me because I can't remember the director's name, but it's the episode in which Nucky goes to his childhood home.
That's mine too. I was
Yes,
going to
I
say
love
it's
that
episode
one.
7.
It's
With Eli?
episode 7,
Yeah.
and
It's probably Van Patten. I
It
expect
is.
it was Van Patten.
It's Tim Van Patten.
I mean, I just love a lot of the symbolism. I love that Margaret Schroeder's little boy is there, although that's symbolizing Nucky. And they just, at the end of that, they just burn the house down.
I love that.
And the camera pulls away with Schroeder's little boy and Nucky, both really one and the same person at that moment, looking at that house burning and having kind of conquered anything that had occurred
Broke
with
the
his father.
cycle.
And it was just, it has to be my favorite episode.
That's
It's
a
so
great one.
well done.
For me, the reason why that was the episode for me was because they were kind of laying the groundwork up until then to me, and I was, I was with the characters, but not really connecting with them so much. It was still sort of information coming at me. And in episode 7, called Home, it was all about like everything connecting within people's childhoods and that sort of thing. And then that was where I really started understanding Margaret a little bit as well.
It's like it's that point in a series, and it's kind of funny. I'm going to do it again, but we just in Breaking Bad, we just had a backstory episode of a key character, Gus.
Yes.
And it comes at a similar point in the season, and it does a similar thing. It shows us something in the past about about a central character that explains so much about who they are and why they do what they do.
Right.
And it was an interesting slow burn to me, this series. I mean, Kevin argued relentlessly with me at the time, as he's wont to do, and that's why we love him. But it took me a few episodes to really get hooked in. And in fact, Terrence Winter, I feel slightly vindicated, because Terrence Winter, in this interview that I read with Deadline Hollywood, talked about, I don't know where it is, but he talked about it taking a few episodes to work out what the series was going to be. I think even for them making it, in terms of the set pieces, the action sequences. And I felt that. But with most great things, like with most great albums, like basically every Radiohead album, it takes 5 listens to realize the genius that you're dealing with.
Definitely.
So now, what was your turning point episode?
Turning point episode, I'd focus more on one of my favorite. I mean, I think in terms of, I tend to agree with you in terms of the arc of the season with that. But I as already mentioned, and as Bethany pointed out, I love Michael Shannon in this.
Yeah.
Van Alden fascinated me every single step of the way.
Indeed.
And there were a couple of key moments for me in that. And that was the torture scene where he tortures the guy into telling him about Jimmy, where we just see he has been so late. It's everything all been so latent, and then there's a gas leak.
Yeah.
And then the self-flagellation. I mean, that was just as the obsession goes with Margaret.
I was just thinking about that.
And I just think, I love Michael Shannon, and his career has really exploded since Boardwalk. I mean, he's been working his whole career, but he's got a bunch of movies coming out, and I just think it's fantastic. Because I just can't wait to see what happens with him. The other thing, just as a B story that I loved, was Richard Harrow, the half man with the half face, played by Jack Huston, a British actor, who is, I've had the pleasure of meeting a few times. He is just unfairly good looking, with just perfect little perfect goatee and swashbuckling looks.
Okay.
You put him up against Orlando Bloom, he'd probably take him off the perch. Just
That's so
charming or whatever.
amazing.
And he just, seeing him, the voice, the vocal work, And just that character and what he represents, I think, as this kind of strange partner to Jimmy Darmody. I loved that. And looking forward, he clearly has a lot to do in the next season. At least some exciting action things with guns, and I just thought that was, I loved that. And I mean, when we did the talk, when we talked about it, we talked about what that physical thing, deformity, and that mask meant, you know, for all the characters. And we've geeked out on it, basically.
Margaret at first and her kids, and that just says all this stuff. But my favorite episode, if you weren't done, go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
My favorite episode, I agree with all of you, but when that woman that lived, her neighbor, actually tells her flat out that she's a concubine, and someone tells her, you know, it's not something hidden or underneath, and it's something that finally she has to make the choice at this point. Have to face it, and that's when she decides to stay. And that's
her neighbor who's also in next door in a similar situation, right?
To Warren.
Yeah.
Until he runs out of money.
Yeah.
And then he had an affair with Nucky too. It's
that's right, and you see how that neighbor gets affected later when the guy takes on a new chick on the side or something. Anyway, favorite characters, guys?
I'm actually really curious because you were talking about the concubine and the women. When we compare Lucy with Ms. Schroeder. Because, again, I think Lucy is living completely authentically and knows exactly who she is and what role she plays. Whereas Miss Schroeder, she's just...
You got a bit frustrated with her through the season, didn't you?
I did, and I still am, because she goes in and out of being honest with herself.
Yeah.
And Michelle, what do you think?
I did get frustrated with her, and also at the same time, knowing where she's coming from, recently widowed, I see sometimes she stands up for herself. She picks and chooses her battles. So when she is like intelligent and is much more articulate than his other concubines. I'm like, yeah, you go, you prove that, you prove them wrong, do all that stuff, and then she completely disappears in some parts.
Well, you know what else she is, though, is conflicted and human, and a mother. Lucy doesn't have the burdens and responsibilities of being a parent. She can look out for herself alone, so her life is less complicated, I would say.
There's another element of
she is with child, though.
Well, but she hasn't been for 11 episodes.
There is one element as well that sets her apart to me, and that is that she's an intellectual equal of Nucky. And all the men that she meets.
They're perfect together.
The way that she, you know, like that she holds herself.
And doesn't keep it quiet.
No, and so that is a key, I don't know, a reason why I find her intriguing and forgive some of her. I
love that. Because
inner contradictions.
Being a victim of domestic abuse, I'm sure there's a lot of times where she feels like she can't say what she wants or stand up for herself, especially against men. But she doesn't have to be one of those typically beautiful women to feel confident in what she thinks.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I feel like her arc compared to the other characters was the most consistent. Because almost for about like 5 or 6 episodes, she would like get a piece of information from somebody, try that piece of information out on Nucky, and then find her own voice within it by the end of it. And I felt like that just kept consistently happening episode after episode of like, well, maybe I'll try this maneuver, and then it would backfire on her.
Yeah, and I wonder that in this world of heavy corruption and violence that she lives in, she's come out of a situation that you just described, Michelle, where might is right, where the guy with the fist runs the roost.
Right.
Nucky takes him out of the way, and she has to fend for herself, and she uses her brains and sometimes her bits to get her further along. And she does. She has a method. There's a method there's no real madness. There's a method to it. And yes, that sometimes she isn't being, or maybe that makes her not her authentic self, but she survives.
Yeah, I have a question question for you. Is there any character in this series that is not getting their needs met? I know it's a tough question.
Van Alden's wife.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Van Alden.
Van Alden. Thank
Right.
you.
I feel like
he's a pit of insatiability, basically.
Lucy,
I think he can
by
never.
the end of it,
Oh, yeah.
she's pregnant now.
I think Mrs. Schroeder too.
Eli is never gonna
Yes.
get his
Needs
needs
met.
met.
Al Capone, to a certain degree, is
He's on a path of-
struggling.
I am so excited to see what season 2 brings for him. I spent some of the summer watching him in Stephen Graham is the actor's name who plays Al Capone in This Is England. And if you haven't got a chance to see his other work, I beg you to go out and watch him.
He's
because
British,
he is,
right?
I really
he's
want to
a
watch
British
This
actor.
Is England.
I cannot wait. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I'm
you're
just
not
like Al Capone. I cannot wait to see what happens.
You wouldn't know he was British at all.
No,
I know.
It's like as good as Idris Elba.
Actually, that role was offered to a director named Michael Parenti, and he turned it down because Michael's out making films. So I just think it's, but I mean,
Why did he turn it down?
He's making films.
Oh, right.
It's, you know, he has his own schedule to keep. But I just think it's fascinating because.
Speaking of that character, Terence Winter said in this Deadline interview, and I quote, "People know what happened to Al Capone and Lucky Luciano, so you can't go changing that."
Right.
It was really flattering. The guy who wrote the most recent bio of Al Capone told me that he thought our depiction of him was the most accurate ever on film.
Really?
Wow.
That's so
In
fast.
one
High praise.
biographer's opinion.
Oh, I also wanted to bring something up about the acknowledgement of post-traumatic stress from the war.
Right.
Post-traumatic stress disorder is after the war. He's freaking out. At that point, it was not even acknowledged. It was after World War II was the first time that I had a name.
Right.
But how much that changed Jimmy and how isolated he became also became part of his character, and violence too. And his anger just was acted out, and he talks about it so much, and it's almost a security blanket, but of course he can't help it and all that stuff. But I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, they tackle a lot of social issues in this show, you know, and have a little bit of a modern look in the sense that we're observing it.
Yeah.
Things that were not talked about back then.
But I find it so interesting watching these period pieces, and Mad Men does exactly the same thing with gender politics.
I
Is that you're
know.
watching them through our modern frame, where our ideas have developed and changed.
Just
However,
a little bit.
And so we're seeing post-traumatic stress, which didn't exist then. That's what it is, but they didn't have
they
the
didn't have a
verbiage
name
for it.
for it.
right.
But
Exactly.
what it does by looking at it, it also shows you where we haven't grown at all, and how certainly in terms of Mad Men, certain like gender politics, 50s style
Absolutely.
attitudes, you go, that exists now.
Exactly.
Anyway, look, we come to the end of the show.
Yes.
Already.
I know, I cannot believe
More
it.
things to say, but
So many
we'll
more
have to-
things.
we'll
In
have to
terms
wait.
of news and gossip, the only something to know is
you had
that,
a little bit.
that this is really very fast and fleeting, is that Paz de la Huerta, who plays Lucy, was arrested in March because she threw a glass at Samantha Swetra, who's like a New York fashionista. They fought over a guy. It just sounded perfect to me.
It did.
Wow,
That did. Maybe
that
she was just
does.
doing a little character work.
I know.
Got arrested for it,
Really.
So look, thanks everyone for tuning into AfterBuzz TV, coming to you live from the gifting suites for the Emmy Awards this weekend. You can find us on ustream.tv/AfterBuzzTV, Facebook.com/AfterBuzzTV, www.AfterBuzzTV.com, iTunes, Ustream. We're there. We've got more shows coming today, ladies. This has just been a dream come true for me, sitting with this kind of a panel. I mean, this is pretty unfortunate. Now, just quickly, one word: is Steve Buscemi going to win Best Actor? Michelle?
Winner.
Yes.
Yes, winner.
Sure, why not?
I say no. I think it's going to John Hamm. Stick around. Keep watching. Keep listening. This is AfterBuzz TV Network. We'll catch you later.
Buzz you later.
Bye.
From producers Kevin Undergaro and Phil Svitek, engineer DJ Jesse Janity, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network.
If you have questions or comments, be sure to buzz us at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. And you can find us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.